is we're not actually going to go camping, but I thought it would be fun to have as many prims as possible and torture Spiff with threatening to crash Lighthouse Learning Sim with as many prims as I could bring to the set. And what I'd like to start off with is looking at who's here. And then we're going to hear from a couple experts. And please know I do not consider myself to be an expert on the national parks. I just consider myself to be someone who knows where there's some really wonderful resources about the parks that are connected to social studies standards in many different areas that are wonderful to integrate into your teaching and then just to have fun with yourself. And we're going to explore a couple of the episodes from the 30,000-foot view way up high, because to really get a lot out of the episodes, you need to have time to explore them and find the pieces that are going to work best with your students and the teachers you work with. We're going to dig into the videos. There are a lot of videos online on demand from PBS teachers. Oh, sorry, I must have clicked. And let me turn off. I can actually lock this, so let me just take a minute to lock this. And then I'm going to actually have you do a little bit of work and share some stories this evening yourselves. So I hope you're willing to experiment a bit with the tools that PBS has put online. This does not duplicate the PBS Teachers webinar that was done last month, but I am going to highlight a couple resources from that for you all. So hopefully this will be new information for you, and I appreciate your contributions during this time together as well. So if you could, yay! We love to have administrators here, so please share who you are, where you're from, what do you teach, and then throw in a national park or two in your introductions. So in the chat field, we'll do this by typing. Just introduce yourself briefly so that we have an idea of who's here. Great. Oh, I'm jealous, Austin. I'd love to spend my summers growing up in national parks. While you're sharing, I'll just let you know that I actually taught high school social studies and English and journalism yearbook for 10 years in northern Arizona in Flagstaff, which is at 7,000 feet. Beautiful area of Arizona. It snows, you can ski, it's close to the Grand Canyon. And when I went to work for PBS in Arizona, it was kind of like moving to the dark side because we had to talk about moving to Phoenix, which is a desert and hot and anything you can think of that's the opposite of living in the mountains and pine trees. But it's been a great experience, and Big D Flanagan is here, and he is my husband and a check of balance when it comes to making sure these resources are something you'd actually use, because he's also a high school social studies teacher. And I would just share that I bombard him with all sorts of resources to see if they're the kinds of things that you'd actually use, because I know how busy your lives are. So if you didn't get a marshmallow on a stick, I bet he can dig one out of his inventory to hand you one when you first came in. So I'm glad you're all here. One thing I wanted to share with you to start is that I've collected all the resources for you this evening in a location called SimplyBox. And SimplyBox is a tool that allows you to bookmark. It's similar to Delicious, but when you're bookmarking, it actually creates a thumbnail image of the site that you're on. And I'm a really visual learner, so I love that feature. And I'm also very collaborative, and the piece that I like best about SimplyBox is that it allows you to make comments about the sites that you've bookmarked in addition to tags. It also allows others to comment on them. And so we're going to be using this site this evening as I gather your feedback on the resources that we look at. And if you were here a little bit early, you heard me talking about how I woke up Serena this morning. As soon as I saw her log in, I said I had to ask her if she knew of a voting tool, because I wanted to collect from you how many of you are already familiar with the parks. And I had seen this wonderful tool, ironically, in clubs, because I think sometimes club owners are the ones who need the tools first of it and figure out how they can put it to use for educational purposes. So I'm going to turn this fun voting system on, and I'd like for you to share with me how familiar you are with the parks. And all you're going to do is click on this little podium post here that's just to my left, or stage right. Is that right? And go ahead and answer, and then it will start to display our votes. I might need to make sure it's on the correct channel. There we go. I apologize. If you've already voted, I'll have you vote again. I'm turning all the systems on. I decided this morning that this system was probably made by a 14-year-old because I think they know how to use these things better than any of us. But I'll move out of the way so that you can see it creates a graphical interpretation of our data. And I love that. So I believe you can only vote one at a time, but the graph should change as we go. And you'll notice it's counting the votes on the lower right. Is it working for everyone? So it looks like most of you are familiar with the broadcast program. You can continue to vote, and I'll go ahead and move on. I was mostly curious to see if any of you had been on the PBS Teachers webinar. I'm going to scoot out of the way now, as I want you to have a chance to see the screen. And I'm going to share with you one of my favorite actors, who's not an actor. He's a real-life park ranger from the series. And one of the things that was said about him on the YouTube showing of this quote was that he was very John Muir-like in the things that he had to say about his experience in the parks. This park ranger happens to have been an inner city kid from Detroit, and he had never ventured outside of his city prior to turning 18 and going to work for the Park Service to deliver the mail. And I felt like this was a clip that really talked about what the parks can do for people from all walks of life. And I wanted to have a chance to share that with you. So the way we're going to view video this evening is I'm going to put a link in the chat, and this clip in particular is just a little over a minute long. It's very short, and I'm using YouTube because I found YouTube tends to load the fastest in conjunction when you have SL running. And then as soon as it's over, I'll come back. So if you have chat open, there's the link. And I'm going to turn off my voice so that you don't hear my sound.